going to bed after this, I promise. This is the culmination. This is the end of our Trickster's Choice, Trickster's Queen duology. Don't you love that word? If you didn't see my Trickster's Choice review, go check it out. Trickster's Queen follows not long after. I think it's like a season later, and the Balitangs have been forgiven. Mostly because the king who had sent them into exile died, but now because they have a child king and his regents, Imogene and Rubignon, are like, come on over. So they are returning to the Copper Isles, to the capital of Copper Isles, to Rajmuat. If you didn't do as I said and went and watched Trickster's Choice, this book revolves around a teenage girl named Ollie, and she's kind of in the middle of a battle. There are two people groups involved in this battle, and one are the Luaran, who are the white people, and then one are the Raka, who are the natives. So I have been trying to figure out who does the Raka represent, and I'm pretty sure it's like an Indian culture. If you pay attention to the kinds of foods they eat and even the names of people and places, it's very Indian. So we have the Raka and the Luaran, and they are headed by their own gods. There's Kyprioth, who is the god of the Copper Isles. He is like the father of the Raka, and he centuries back had been cast off his throne when the Raka were fighting amongst themselves and then had been dethroned by the Luaran. And the Luaran are headed by Mithros and the Great Mother Goddess, who are Kyprioth's brother and sister. He's like, I'm coming back for my throne. I'm gonna enlist Allie. So I'm essentially gonna kidnap Allie. I'm gonna plop her in the middle of all this. And now, Trickster's Choice, they had been exiled. Now they're coming back. And it's all leading up to who is the chosen one. There are two choices. There's Dove and there's Sarai. Everybody is thinking that is Sarai. She is older, she is more beautiful, she is more passionate. They get back, they get back to Rajmuat. Sorry, I had a moment. They get back to Rajmuat and they are without their patriarch because Duke Mequin had died in the previous book. So they're still in mourning, but Imogene is like, you gotta be part of my court. And you know what? I've sort of banned black. And of course they're all saying it's because she looks terrible in black, but what you gonna do? They're being forced back into a normal life that they're not quite ready for or wanting. But when they get to Rajmuat, for their exile, they had to sell everything they had in order to pay the king's price to be in his favor. So they get to their house and they're like, who paid for the upkeep? Who paid for all of the servants, the household staff? Who is paying for this new wardrobe? In comes the battle axe, Aunt Nuritan. Now I like her because, as I said, she's a battle axe. The woman is just like, take no prisoner, just my way or the highway. And we learn that also the girls, because their father had been married to their mother died, he remarried a woman named Winamine. And then Winamine has two children. I can't remember their names right now. She has two children and they're much younger. So they get to this house and they're like, who paid for all of it? And Nuritan is like, well, some of it was mine. And then they learn that some of it came from their Raka inheritance, or at least Sarai's inheritance, because the whole deal is that apparently once you hit a certain age, your family is supposed to give you stuff. And because they were in exile, and nobody wanted anything to do with them, she did not receive this inheritance of sorts. Of course, it's really not about that. It's about making sure that we get a Raka, a part Raka queen on the throne. If you mix Trickster's Choice, the whole thing is, the prophecy says that the ruler, the next queen, will be part Luaran, part Raka. Their dad is Luarin, their mother is Raka. Which, okay, can I say something? I'd forgotten to mention it in my last review. I don't understand the whole deal. I can't remember their mom's name either. The mother was part of this minor line of Raka nobility, and somehow they were able to hide them and hide her so that she could eventually give birth to the heir. How does that work? I can understand after a couple of centuries people lose track, but how does it work at the time, unless there was so much fighting going on that nobody really paid attention to who was who anymore? And of course, when the Luarin take over, they could care less anyways. At the same time, I would have thought that they would have sought out anybody from the royal line. Maybe none of this is documented, which is why they got away with it. But yes, the question, how was this line of the royal family able to hide? Where are the gatekeepers? Where are the scribes? Where are the historians? Where are the people who keep track of the royal family? Did they not know that this woman's line was part of the royal family? Like, I guess it goes to show how little I know about how royalty and monarchies work, that I don't understand how a branch can be completely unobserved. I mean, if you saw my Long May She Reign, that girl was 24th in line. People keep track of that stuff. So yeah, I do have an overarching question as to how this hidden branch was able to be hidden. I can understand how it remained hidden. I just don't understand how it was initially hidden, unless they were literally hidden so that nobody could find them to kill them. But everybody knew they were there. Like, everybody knew that there was a removed line hanging out somewhere. Enough that there were Raka conspirators in the first book who knew that they had to protect Dove and Sarai. Anywho, Trickster's Queen. We're just gonna go through it. Donovan is the Child King. Imogene and Rubignon, they want to be in power, even though they are regents and they essentially have all the power anyways. It's not enough for them. Although, if Imogene could not be queen in the first place because she's a woman, why killing off Donovan would make her queen, except as regent she can make a new law? I don't really understand. So what she does is, I'm gonna go take a nap. For his 5th birthday, they build him a boat. He's gonna go out on the water, and all of his little courtiers come with him, which includes, enter name here because I still can't remember their half-brother's name. And so he is actually next in line. So that, with the problem that I had with the first book being, I didn't think there were enough twists and turns. There wasn't enough to surprise me. This one did make up for it. So if you compare the two books, I would choose Trickster's Queen. Yeah, so their brother, because their dad had been next in line, and that is why he essentially dies. And then now their brother is next in line. So it's like, all the conspirators are trying to ignore this problem, because in order for Dove or Sarai to be queen, they gotta get these little kids out of the way first. Well, spoiler alert, Imogene and Rubignon solve that problem. They conjure a magical storm which sinks a boat that was not constructed well. And then all of the little boys on the boat die except for one, although he doesn't really matter because he's not a threat to the throne. So we have this really intense tragedy, which I love it. Like, that sounds terrible, but knowing it's coming, I just can't wait. I can't wait because it's a wonderful moment. It's a moment where you mourn, but you're also like, okay, sigh of relief, because now Allie and her crew don't have to worry about that nasty little bit of business. That happens, and it really does a number on Sarai. What has also been happening is she has been hanging around with her gang, and there's one guy that shows up, and he's not from the Copper Isles. He's from... This is when I need my phone, but my phone is there. And this is when I really wish I had my book, but my book is somewhere. It's packed somewhere. And this is when I wish I had my computer or my iPad or some other kind of device in which I could just quickly look up, but they're just somewhere else. I don't feel like going and getting them. He is from Carthag. I knew I'd get there in the end. He's from Carthag, which means he's a real intelligent dude and he wants to be a doctor. We're spoiling things here if you cannot tell. This whole book, you're getting the sense that Sarai is not interested in him because he's not flashy. But what he does have is substance. He cares about people. And so after their brother dies, and she... Actually, no, this is before he dies. What's wrong with me? Imogene, in wanting to create goodwill, in wanting to strengthen ties, she tells Sarai that essentially she's got to marry Donovan. And Sarai's like, dude, no, Donovan is 5. I am 18. Not gonna happen. So she is able to run away with this guy from Carthag. Now we know Dove is the only option left. So Dove is going to be the queen. She is the one from the prophecy. That is when Donovan and company dies. Also throughout this book, Allie and her crew, her people, her spy network have been undermining Imogene and Rubignon, and they're making them doubt their spy master. They're making the spy master doubt them. They're getting rid of all the things that these regions are using to scare people into submission. And they finally decide to go on the attack, and I guess it is a big battle again because of Allie. Okay, so in the last book, I talked about how constantly she prepared was, how constantly she was prepared. This book again solves some of my issues, in which she didn't see the whole thing with Sarai coming. She didn't see the whole thing with Donovan coming. I liked that. I liked that she did things, so even though she's in charge, she did things that the Raka conspiracy was not agreeing with. They didn't like that she would go ahead and put herself in danger or make decisions that could put all of them in danger. So I was like, finally, Allie does things that people don't like. Or maybe just aren't the wisest decisions. They're rash decisions. They turn out well, but they weren't the wisest, and someone's gonna call her out on it. They've been sowing all these seeds of dissent. But yeah, we get to the big battle. We do lose some main conspirators, which I'm glad for. I hate to have lost them because you do get to know and love these characters, but it's like with Rowling in book 5, if you know anything about Harry Potter, where Mr. Weasley was attacked by the snake. That was a moment for her where she was like, okay, well, he's gotta die. He doesn't die. So she knew somewhere along the line someone else was gonna have to die. So you just have to sometimes lose the people you don't want to lose in order for the story to be better, if that makes sense. Like with Allie, it bothers me so much that she never does anything wrong. So yeah, if we got to the end of both of these books and nobody on our side had died, it'd been like, whatever. That's too easy. Like, that's just impossible. It's so unbelievable. And so it makes the story better. Anyways, that huge tangent that I should not have gone on. They do end up winning, obviously. They kill Rubignon, and then Imogene commits suicide. Dove becomes queen, and then Allie has a decision to make. She can either go home to Tortal, or she can stay in Rajmuat and be their spy master. Well, what do you think she did? She stays in Rajmuat, which I kind of like too. I hate that she, in a sense, can never go home again, because as the spy master, this is her place. This is what she has to protect. I like that that's a hard decision to make, and it makes her more interesting. And we do get a follow-up scene, like an epilogue with her and all of her family. And here's a spoiler, she and Nawat get together, and in this epilogue scene, she's pregnant, and Dane is pregnant again. Is she? Maybe she's not. She was pregnant in the first book. And for some reason, I keep thinking she's pregnant in the second, but I don't think so. Doesn't really matter. In the end, Allie is with all of her family, and she's like, okay, Dad, make sure you get all your spies out. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna replace them with new guys anyways. And yeah, you know, we're riding off into the sunset, and Kyprioth is back on his throne, and there we go. I liked Nawat in this book a little bit more because he did mature. He got to a point where he's like, all right, so essentially we've been fooling around for a while now, and I'm tired of fooling around, but you don't want to have nestlings. And so maybe it's time for me to go. Maybe the fact that you have access to me is the problem. So I'm gonna do something that's gonna make me a man, which is get involved in the thick of the battle. He goes off with the crows to do whatever he needs to do. Sorry, it's my foot, guys. That's what I'm scratching. So he goes off to do dangerous missions with, I don't know, dangerous people. Then when he returns, he's kind of war-hardened. He's seen things that have separated him from being a crow and made him into a man. Because if you didn't see Trickster's Choice, well, go see Trickster's Choice so you know what I'm talking about. And so yeah, he shows up after the boat sinks. This is when they consummate their relationship. He's like, I'm a man, and now you know that I'm a man. Now our future is set. Which is why, obviously, in the end, they're pregnant and, you know, living happily ever after. But I liked him so much more because he didn't have that naivete, which I can't fault him for having in the first book because he was essentially a child. He was very young, but I didn't like the juxtaposition of how wise he was, but then he wasn't at all. And I don't know, maybe that's life too, where sometimes we can be really well versed in certain areas of life and not at all in others. This was just a better book overall. I thought it had a better plot. I thought it had more suspense. I thought it had more at stake. It was even a little bit better written. You know, Tamora Pierce likes to fall into some of her telling traits and her adverbs and all that kind of stuff, but I thought that this one had a faster pace. It had a lot more going on. There was a lot more, in, for lack of a better word, drama, where you didn't know were things going to be okay or not. That's it for Trickster's Queen. If I've missed anything, let me know. If there's something that you're like, I'm completely confused about, let me know. And